All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 8th, 2026 Papillion La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting. I'd like to note that the Nebraska Open Meetings Law is posted at the entrance of our boardroom. We'll move on to Section 1, Call to Order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madler,
Here.
Mr. Lotus,
Here.
Ms. Wood,
Here.
Mr. Bailey,
Here.
Ms. Butler.
Here.
Thank you, and I would entertain a motion to excuse the absence of Ms. Witt for this evening.
I make a motion that we excuse Sue Ann Witt from this evening's meeting.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Wood and a second by Mr. Madler. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Thank you. Moving on to Section 2, Communications. Our first item is our recognition for this evening, the Project Adam Hart Safe Schools designation. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board. Happy Monday, everyone, and for the members of the community that have joined us this evening and maybe watching online, thank you for engaging with your Board of Education. One of the things that we really like doing around here is providing recognition for programs, for students, for staff, things that have occurred within the school district that have brought honor and distinguishment to the Papillion La Vista Community Schools, and we are very proud to bring one such individual with us this evening. Before I announce this individual and the honor this evening, I would like to point out that we have several of our school nurses that are attending tonight's presentation in support of what this Project Adam is all about. We don't talk a lot about our nurses in the school district, but they are an absolutely integral part for what we do in monitoring student safety, helping students as they encounter medical difficulties, and just supporting our staff in general. So we've got at least one retiree, and that we're going to miss you. Some departing nurses and some that will be coming back. But in any event, thank you, nurses, for being here. Your work is absolutely essential to what we do as a school district. Without further ado, our recognition this evening is Project Adam Hart Safe Schools designation. We have Matt Carper here, who's going to be recognized in just a moment. Mr. Carper is the project director for Project Adam coordinator for Nebraska. He's going to be presenting all schools in the Papillion La Vista Community Schools with a Hart Safe Schools designation. We've long partnered with this organization to provide education, outreach, defibrillators, thanks in no small part to a Project SARPI leadership project several years ago. All of our buildings have at least one AED, and I think our larger buildings probably have multiple AEDs, which frankly are life-saving instruments. It's one of those things you hope you never have to use, but when you need them, you gotta have them close by. Matt, thank you for everything you do to support the Papillion La Vista Community Schools. Please come down and be recognized by the Board of Education. And Matt, we would invite you to share a few comments if you would, and then we'd gladly take a picture in front of the screen.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. As Dr. Rickley said, my name is Matt Carper. I'm the Project Adam coordinator at Children's Nebraska. I'm very honored to lead Project Adam in our state, and I want to recognize your school district, Papillion La Vista Community Schools, tonight for the hard work you've done this last school year on having every school in your district become Hart Safe. I do want to say this is, I've done this a few times with different districts, and this one does hit close to home for me. I live in Papillion. I have nieces and nephews that attend your school district. So it makes me feel better knowing that your schools are even safer now because of the work that your staff and school nurses have done to earn this recognition. I do want to give a special thanks to Dr. Rickley for embracing this project, and then Missy Stolley, your Director of Student Services, for getting the go-ahead to kind of lead forward with this. And a big special shout out to Holland Rahota and the Papillion La Vista Community School nurses. They were the ones that really led the charge and did the heavy lifting to get this going in your schools. Without them, this wouldn't be happening right now. And then for every member of the school administration teams and any staff members that were part of the emergency response teams, special thanks to you all as well. Our medical director for Project Adam, Dr. Sorensen, he's usually one to attend these events and kind of lead the charge. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it tonight, but we do have a video that we have prepared to share a little bit more about what Project Adam is and the meaning behind it. But that's the next slide. I do like to highlight, so it's not every day that we get to celebrate an entire school district as becoming heart safe, and such a large one as well. I show this map just to recognize the footprint, the 24 schools that got this done. It's a huge accomplishment for all of you. And now, Dr. Sorensen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Matt Sorensen. I'm one of the pediatric cardiologists at Children's Nebraska, and I'm an electrophysiologist, meaning that I specialize in arrhythmias and heart conditions that can manifest as sudden cardiac arrest. I guess you could call me an electrician for the heart. That's why I'm here today to talk about Project Adam. Project Adam is named after Adam Lemmel, a 17-year-old from Wisconsin who was a varsity basketball player who suffered a sudden cardiac arrest during a game. Despite doing everything right with prompt response from EMS, good quality CPR, Adam died while his family watched on the bleachers. Since that time, various children's hospitals have partnered across the country, along with the Lemmel family, to create Project Adam, an acronym that means Automated Defibrillators in Adam's Memory. An automated defibrillator, or AED, is a tool that we use to test someone's heart rhythm to see if they need a shock that can reset someone's heart. It does the work for you, and it's automated, but having an AED is not enough. In order to achieve heart safe designation, we require 4 things. Number 1, you have to have an AED. Number 2, you have to have an emergency response plan. Number 3, you need to have an emergency response team. Number 4, we ask that you practice drills regularly. With those key components, we can identify sudden cardiac arrests, act quickly, and save lives. The American Heart Association reports that there are more than 350,000 cases of cardiac arrest outside of the hospital every year. That's almost 1,000 a day. For every minute that passes without defibrillation, your survival decreases by 10%, and we're trying to improve those odds. Project Adam started in schools because that's where Adam needed it. We've expanded our mission to include more than schools so that we can help protect the maximum number of people possible. Thank you for joining us in your commitment to create a heart-safe environment. Thank you for honoring Adam's memory and being willing to save a life. This is a big deal. You're not in this alone. We're partnering with you. And on behalf of Project Adam and all of us here at Children's Nebraska, thank you for achieving heart-safe designation.
So yeah, just a couple highlights about Adam. He did suffer sudden cardiac arrest in 1999. So Project Adam's been going strong. We just celebrated 25 years across the nation last year. And all the work that you've done. We do like to highlight that because AEDs are so important in these instances because of cardiac arrest, because of that electrical issue with the heart. So that's why, as Dr. Sorensen mentioned in the video, every minute that passes from somebody dropping from cardiac arrest to a shock being delivered lowers the chance of survival by about 10%. So all of your schools worked hard to practice to make sure that wherever somebody would go down on your campus, hopefully it never happens, but if it were to happen, an AED should be there to deliver a shock within 3 minutes. You have those teams prepared. So yeah, all the things that you've done, you have your AEDs, you have CPR and AED trained staff. Every one of your schools has a cardiac emergency response plan specific to your school. And every one of your schools conducted drills this last year to test their response, and will continue to do so on an annual basis to maintain their designation. And you're now a part of a bigger club in the state of Nebraska, joining over 300 different schools, being Project Adam designated. So congratulations to the Plano Vista Community Schools. You are now a heart-safe school district. So thank you.
Thank you again, Matt, for coming, and nurses, thank you for being here. Matt, would you like to join us up front for a quick photo op? And I'm going to exercise a little executive privilege here. I'd love to have our nurses join us. Holland and Annette and the rest of the nurses, please come on down and be recognized by your Board of Education. Thank you again, Matt, for being here. Nurses, hope you get a chance to recharge your batteries a little bit over the summer months. You're obviously welcome to stick around and enjoy the rest of the board meeting, but we also know you're busy people. So thank you again. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I would conclude our recognitions for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley, and thank you to all of our buildings and staff that put in their time and effort to create those response plans and follow through to get this wonderful designation. All right, moving on to item B under Section 2 Communications, our superintendent's report. Back to you, Dr. Rickley.
Thank you again, Mr. Lotus, members of the board. And again, welcome community members who are here. Thank you for engaging. And happy summer, first of all. It doesn't seem possible. Another school year is in the books. Hopefully, even though we're not very far into the summer yet, hopefully you've had a chance to recharge your batteries with friends, families, catching up on books. And that's for all of us, our students, our families that put in so much time during the school year to make the school year successful. We're deeply grateful for everyone's support. We'll see in August. It'll be here before we know it. Wanted to thank Dr. Siri and her team for successfully starting off summer school. I believe we have a number of students at the elementary level, well north of 300, I believe, last time I checked, and a number of high school students that are participating in summer school. Also want to thank the staff for making that happen. There have been years where staffing summer school, frankly, becomes quite a bit of an issue. Staff are so busy during the summer months, doing curriculum work, taking graduate classes, spending time with families, that sometimes it's not an easy lift getting teachers to commit to summer school. But we're doing a really great job of that, thanks to Dr. Settles and her team, continuing to recruit some of our very best and brightest. Just a few miscellaneous things because summer does go by so quickly. One, wanted to remind the board that we're already talking about potential retreats. In the past, we've done board retreats sometime in the summer months, sometimes July, August. One of the things that we asked to contemplate, if it works for the board, is maybe pushing it back to September so that we can kind of get the school year up and running. Several topics have already come up from board members in terms of what they would like on the agenda. As always, this is open to the public. We'll provide more details as we get a bit closer. But if you do have agenda topics you'd like discussed, please make sure you get those to President Lotus or to Ms. Scheller, and we'll make sure it happens. A couple other exciting things happening around the community. Lee Danker, the executive director of the PLCS Foundation, I had the opportunity to meet with the Lions Club about a week and a half ago, sharing plans on the Community Engagement Center, a project that we're all very excited about that'll be taking form starting just in a few months as we knock down the print shop across the street. So we had a full house. It had been a while since I'd visited with the Lions Club. I bet we had 100 people at Sharon's Fireside. Just off of 84th Street. So we had a great group of people. They had lots of questions, not only about the Community Engagement Center, but just general kudos about the school district. Virtually everybody there has either direct relationship through kids, grandkids, or were grads themselves. So a fun group to reconnect with. Also wanted to remind the community and the board that the foundation is running its second largest fundraiser of the year tomorrow morning at Tiburon Golf Course with its annual Swing for Kids golf outing. I don't know the number of flights that they have booked, but if previous experience is any guide, they're booked up. It's always a great event. I know we have board members participate. We have board members volunteering their time, including those that serve on the foundation board. So thank you for everybody for making that what promises to be a really fun event. Lincoln View Elementary, so a couple of events with Lincoln View Elementary. So our soon-to-be 17th Elementary building, I believe we had at least 3 board members, I think Skip, Marcus, Brian, maybe others made the open house today. I was out there. The building is beautiful. Mr. Lotus and I were remarking not only the quality of the building and the pop and the wow when you walk into that entryway, that wood entryway in particular, I thought added some real aesthetic appeal. But to have that building basically ready to go 2 full months before school starts, that's no small thing. And it hasn't always been that way. There have been cases where we're opening up buildings, literally getting it prepped 2-3 days before school opens. So, Mr. Richards, for you and your crew and the work that they've done with our bond projects, thank you. Gives us a little bit of margin for error and our principals some room to breathe before school opens in August. And lastly, I had one thing that I just wanted to read very briefly. We don't do a lot of these around here, but this one was kind of special, and it's not often that parents reach out to me. But we had some district parents reach out to me regarding their son, Oliver Harmson, who recently achieved Eagle Scout status. No small thing, ladies and gentlemen, and you look at the list of luminaries and leaders and people that have moved the needle in this great nation's history, and how many of them have achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. It's pretty remarkable. So I don't know if Oliver and his parents, Jared and Ashley, are watching, but if you are, we're extremely proud of you. So Oliver achieved Eagle Scout, which is, of course, the highest honor in Scouting America. He did a service learning project, which is required, and he did some work specifically for his church, his congregation. His church home is Water's Edge. Approximately 124 hours went into Oliver's experience. Along the way, he earned a number of merit badges, but his actual experience was for Water's Edge was designing a service learning project around an outdoor learning space at the church. So I have no doubt that this will not only deeply impact Water's Edge, the congregation, and future congregants with his work, but I have no doubt that will serve Oliver well. His mom and dad made a point to say that he's been a really proud district student. He's moving on to UNL and wants to study engineering. I did write a letter of support, so hopefully you've received that, Jared and Ashley, but I just wanted to publicly call you out for your outstanding work and your commitment to your community and your congregation. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I would conclude my superintendent comments for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. Board member reports for this evening.
Well, it seems like a long time ago, but since our last meeting, I did attend Ideal graduation on May 14th, and I just do want to take a minute to recognize it was a lovely evening, and it was great to celebrate students who had worked hard to overcome some individual and a variety of different challenges. And over, what I heard was that Ideal created an environment where they could be successful and that they had staff there to support them and help them on their journey. So kudos to the staff of the Ideal program and to the kids that worked hard to receive their diplomas.
I just wanted to echo Lincoln View was amazing. Watching Monica run around everywhere with her level of energy was phenomenal. It's fantastic. Brian and I walked all through the school. I think it was his second tour. I think he went with you all, and then he just accompanied me, so we walked through, and it was, Marcus and I were briefly talking right before the meeting that it was kind of fun to watch some of the staff as they were figuring out where their rooms were and talking about the different things in there. But yeah, and I was, my wife said she knew I was there, and she goes, "What'd you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's really nice. It's a fantastic school." So, you know, you could kind of see the little bit of envy in it, but yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal. So, Brett, I echo you and your staff and everybody, all the hard work you've put into it, and it just looks fantastic. Thank you. And to have it that far along, like you mentioned, 2 months ahead of time. Yeah, so I asked Monica if she'd had a chance to breathe yet, so since she's working pretty hard, but that's pretty amazing. I wanted to bring up something else. It's not really directly district related, but I had the privilege to go to the Scott Scholars intro breakfast this morning, or brunch at UNO, and it was amazing. My boss couldn't be there, so he asked me to go, so I got the privilege to go do that. And I know that, you know, I don't know if we have any this year, but I know we've had Scott Scholars from our district before. And it's quite the program at UNO that they go through, and to listen to some of the speakers and then to meet some of these young people as they're getting ready to start UNO. And you know, like I said, what we put out there and what ends up, you know, at our universities and out in the trades and everything, I know we've said this before, but just watching what I was seeing today, we're in good hands. We got some great young folks that are doing wonderful things, and will continue to do that. So it was just, like I said, made me think what we do. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see that, but when you see them kind of move forward, it was really neat. Made me smile this morning. So thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to just again say a few words about Lincoln View. And what hasn't already been said is it's nice to see an elementary location that's a little back to, you know, kind of the older school setting, where it's just not stuck smack dab in the middle of 3 or 4 different neighborhoods where it's just completely surrounded by housing, with having, you know, the old Turkey Road tree line right there. I mean, I got out of my car and I started walking to the front door, and what could I see? I could see down, towards downtown Papillion up the hill. You can see Terra Plaza and Monarchs, and then you just kind of turn, and then when Skip and I went into the teacher's lounge, and you get there and you sit there and they look out the window and they're not just staring at somebody's back window. It's the tree line, it's nature, and to get the sod in and get everything where it's not just dirt and we're waiting for seed to come in, and with the sprinkler systems that we've invested in all the buildings, to see grass be there, landscaping be there, and we're in early June. So again, kudos to all of our partners, our architects, our construction managers at risk, all their subcontractors, and everything else to put the quality of our products. And we're seeing that across all the bond projects within the district. But a really cool new place that Monica informed us that we're roughly at about 250 students on registered to start at Lincoln View here in August. Obviously, there'll probably be a few more coming in before that. So really cool experience that we're glad we were able to see this far in advance. One last thing, because he'll never do it himself, so I'll steal kind of a book from Sue-Ann. And got a letter here from Dr. Maher, obviously the Commissioner of Education for the state of Nebraska. He just wanted to send a note of appreciation for Superintendent Rickley. So over the past year, Andrew has served on my Superintendent Advisory Council, which has been invaluable for me in my first 3 years as commissioner. This commitment took them away from your district, and as former superintendent, understand how service on committees or task forces can be a burden. During and in between our 4 meetings, the Superintendent Advisory Council provided critical insights into statewide assessment and accountability, supported me as I made decisions on improving the department's customer service focus, and served as a sounding board for legislative and regulatory change and implementation. I can say wholeheartedly their voices and insights have made our agency, its focus, and our implementation of policies better. There's no place like Nebraska for our students to learn, earn, and live. We look forward to continuing to work to improve our school systems. Thanks again to the board for supporting our superintendent's participation in the Superintendent Advisory Council. Don't hesitate to reach out if there's any ways he can better support our district. So again, thank you again to the board for supporting this, and also thank you, Dr. Rickley, for your commitment to our district and the commitment to students across the state by participating in this council.
Thank you, boss. Much appreciated.
All right, moving on to item C under Section 2 Communications. Committee reports, buildings, grounds, and finance.
We did meet on Friday. We have a number of items on the agenda later, talking through the bus survey, emergency generator, Trumbull Park roof. All 3 of those items are listed and we will discuss later. We also talked through middle school land, continue to talk about middle school land, print shop sale, and then new flooring. But those items will be on a future board meeting as well to bring to the full board.
Thank you, Mr. Madler. Human Resources and Student Services.
We have not met since the last meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. And Curriculum and Americanism.
We have not met either. We hadn't thought we were going to have a meeting scheduled this week, but we got to pull Sue-Ann back from Europe somewhere. So once we get her back, we'll get something scheduled.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. All right, that concludes Section 2 Communications. Moving on to Section 3, action items for this evening. Item A, action by consent.
I make a motion to approve the action items, or action by consent items as listed.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Madler. Roll call, please.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Butler. Yes. Mr. Madler,
Yes.
Mr. Lotus.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. On to our final item under Section 3 action items, the review of our 4,000 series of our board policies. Personnel. Dr. Settles.
Thank you so much. So I appreciate the time that you all put into this over the last month and a half as we reviewed the 4,000s for our annual review. We did just this past week have the webinar that we attended with KSB giving updates from the legislature. So we will have some additional things for several of our series policies, not just the 4000s, that we'll be bringing you here soon as well, based on that information. But from our last time of discussing this in May, you have those policies in front of you. We did make some additions to the 4005 policy, and I thank the committee and Mr. Madler and everybody just taking a look at that. We want to make sure that we're making these as tight as we can as we move forward with adding that new policy. But I believe that's the only one that received any other changes, so the rest are the same as what you saw previously.
Any comments, discussion?
I'll make the motion to approve the changes for the 4000s, including 4005, 4032, 4046, 4104, 4116, and 4141 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Madler, a second by Ms. Butler. Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, moving on to section 4, our discussion and information items for this evening. Item A is our year-end superintendent's performance goals update for the 2025-26 school year. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board. So just as a reminder for community members that may be watching, so one of the primary jobs of the Board of Education is to hire, fire, and evaluate the superintendent. And the way that the superintendent evaluation process works is basically this. Nebraska state law requires that I be evaluated in my very first year of employment at least twice. This is concluding my 13th year, so the board is only bound to have a conversation once per year, but in practice, we have conversations throughout the course of the school year. So for example, we typically frame up my goals July and August. The board typically approves the goals in September. When we do our board retreat, that's usually a point of conversation. And then at least 2 times we have a formal review of those goals, once typically in December when we're at about the midway point in the school year, and then again in late May, early June when we're reflecting on the school year. The purpose is for me basically to provide status updates on we've made progress in these areas, and these are some areas that we still have some room to grow. So it's a pretty comprehensive process, and that doesn't include the conversations that occur with the board and subcommittee, and it certainly doesn't include the conversations that I have with the one-off conversations as I meet with board members monthly, because very frequently the evaluation, the progress towards completion of goals is a topic that we talk about. So certainly won't go through this line by line, but the board selected 5 broad goals at the beginning of the year. Goal number 1, implementing a new strategic planning process. Dr. Siri and her team have been the prime movers on that goal. They've made tremendous progress on not only facilitating a process. Internally, I might add, it's the first time in 3 iterations of strategic planning that we haven't hired an outside consultant. We're doing it in-house because we think we can do it as well or better, and frankly, it's cost savings. And we framed up 6 broad goals, and we're in the process, after having formed up action teams, we're working on implementation teams. More to come on that throughout the course of the summer, but I'm really proud of that. Goal 2, we've long had goals around communication and engagement. Again, this is a team effort. Dr. Villarreal, among others, has done some really great things with everything from podcasts, signage, resurrecting the Bond Squad, a variety of things that we've done to engage with our staff, engage with our students, engage with our families, and engage with our empty nesters, which is the lion's share of our district's population. Goal number 3, implement enhanced curriculum assessment and technology priorities. That's really the heart of what we do as a school district, is teaching and learning. There's a variety of things that we're doing, everything ranging from monitoring student academic gains. We're monitoring our assessment scores, our AQuest classifications. This would include things like Toolbox, which is at the heart of our teaching and learning and our curriculum review process. There isn't a board member around the table that hasn't heard firsthand about Toolbox specific to ELA and our Amplify CKLA curriculum change, and increasingly we're hearing about eagerness of our teachers to take that next step, which is mathematics. So lots of really great work going there, thanks to Dr. Series' leadership. Goal 4, Dr. Settles is leading this one. Again, this is a goal we've been doing for years. We tend not to whipsaw from goal to goal from year to year. The goals tend to be pretty similar. This one has to do with staff recruitment, retention, and succession planning strategies. We're dealing with the same thing that every organization across this great country of ours is dealing with. How do we attract the best and brightest, and once we have them, how do we keep them? It is no small thing, and we're only as great as our employees allow us to be, and we have some really great ones. So it includes everything from filling administrative positions, central office, building level. Dr. Settles has done some great things with parent-to-teacher programs. We've done some things with our advisory programs. We restarted an advisory program, and we've done a whole bunch of things with employee negotiations. And finally, the 5th goal, implement plan for bond facility and safety projects. We'll hear a little bit more about that tonight. This is Mr. Richard's purview. Again, though Lincoln View is maybe the latest and brightest and shiniest example of the work that we do every day with our buildings and our plants and our facilities, there is less sexy behind-the-scenes work happening in all of our buildings with roofs, with HVAC systems, with sidewalks, with infrastructures, with playgrounds. That work doesn't happen. Just like if you're a homeowner, you know that keeping your home up is a never-ending job. So too is completing all of the revisions necessary to educate almost 12,500 students with 1,800 staff members. So there's a whole lot of things going on. Brett, you've done outstanding work in that area. Really proud of that. So again, I know that's just a very brief snapshot of the 5 goals. I would gladly take any questions from the board. And then once we kind of wrap this up, then I'll launch right into thinking about what the board would like me to be focusing on for 26, 27. My hunch is that many of these goals will probably carry over, but again, I serve at the purview and the pleasure of the board, and if there's a new direction that they would like me to focus on as superintendent, that is certainly what we will do. So I'll pause there and see if we have any questions on those 5 goals, and I'll do my best to answer them.
All right, seeing none. Thank you, Dr. Rickley, for the update on your goals for this last school year. And again, board members, as you have any thoughts on goals, obviously it typically is one of our bigger topics at the retreat. Again, shoot those my way, and we'll make sure we don't forget to include them in the discussion agenda. All right, moving on to item B under section 4, discussion and information items, middle school busing. I will turn this over to Dr. Villarreal.
All right, good evening, Board of Education, and thank you for allowing me to share with you the results of our middle school bus transportation expansion survey and talk a little bit about next steps. So the first thing I wanted to do is clarify for the board and for anybody listening at home some information about the survey design, and then I'll give you a high-level summary of the results themselves. First, we were charged with 2 tasks from the board. One, to identify interest in middle school busing expansion, and 2, to identify willingness to pay. So I know that there was some confusion about if we were trying to assess a need for middle school busing, and this was not a needs assessment, this was a demand assessment. We can't objectively interpret people's needs. So we can ask the question, are you interested in a pay-to-ride middle school busing program? And people can tell us whether or not they are interested so we can better gauge demand. So that's what the survey was designed to do. And if a family member said that they are not interested in a pay-to-ride program, then the survey ended at that point for them. Because if they're not interested, then we don't need the data about in which price ranges they would be willing to pay. So with that, the survey was distributed specifically to families of middle school students within the parameters that we've discussed before for what the expanded parameters would be for that middle school busing. It would be students that are south of Highway 370 from their school within the 4-mile range, and students north of Highway 370 within the 2 to 4 mile range from their school. When the survey was issued, it was sent out to any parent associated with each student, and we collected one survey response per student authenticated by their student ID. That was the first question of the survey, was what is your student ID? And student IDs were also provided in the survey invitation. The purpose there is so that the results reflect the actual potential user pool for the service. We had, within that expanded criteria, we had 734 students for the 26-27 school year that would be eligible if we were to implement the pay-to-ride program. Of those 734 students, we had validated responses for 547 of them, which is a response rate of 75%, a very healthy response rate. I think it did help that I sent nagging reminders every day that the survey was open and said, hey, you haven't filled it out yet. So with those responses that we received, 66% indicated that they were interested in a pay-to-ride program. 34% indicated that they had no interest in a pay-to-ride program. So when we're looking at these results today, we're looking specifically at a pool of about 359 students. Of those 359 students, just to show you a split across the 3 middle schools, it was a pretty even split there. We had 111 students from La Vista Middle, 125 from Liberty Middle, and 122 from Papillion Middle. So that's something just to keep in mind as we continue talking about this, that it was a pretty even split between those schools. And one of the things that's important for that is, as we think about busing and we think about transportation routes, a single leg of a transportation route only delivers students or picks students up from one school if we're running a single leg route. So the fact that it's spread evenly or close to evenly across the 3 middle schools comes into play when we start looking at what this looks like when we consider revenue and expenditure. This is the high-level summary then. So of those students, those 360-ish students that we're talking about, when asked how likely are you to register your student to pay for pay-to-ride service at each fee range, the responses in green are families that would definitely register their student. Responses in yellow are probably would register, and the dark gray is probably would not register. Light gray is definitely would not register. So our focus then is on the students who would definitely register or probably register in each of those price ranges. I'll show you the same data in a table, and then I'll pause so you guys can process and ask any questions. So this is that same data, same information, just in a table format so you can see the numbers a little bit more clearly. And then this is where I'll pause so you can take it in and ask any questions.
So I guess, interesting to me, maybe I'm just pointing out the obvious, but 358, I thought it was 359, maybe I read that down wrong, 358 total, and said they would be interested, but less than 500, still had 11 that said they would definitely not. So I guess they're assuming at the $500 range and not the lower than that. I mean, that just seems kind of odd to me, but all right. Like I said,
And I'll provide one clarification, and then I'll give you what I was assuming there. None of the questions on the survey were required. Response to any specific row in the survey was not required either. So while there were 359 that were interested, the numbers that I gave you on the right-hand side of the screen are how many indicated their willingness to pay within that price range. So not everyone that said they were interested indicated they were willing to pay in each price range. So that's what that number is there for. For those, that 11-ish percent, 12-ish percent that said they probably wouldn't or definitely wouldn't register at less than 500, my assumption there is that they want it to be free. I'm going to continue forward here, and we can always come back to this slide. But what I did is to help contextualize those numbers is I put together cost scenarios in each of those cost ranges. So the basis for these cost scenarios goes back to what I presented the last time, where we looked at the context for the expanded program. We know that our cost per route for 26-27 is $81.2 thousand before the fuel surcharge. And we had talked previously about recouping 100% of the base route cost at rider capacity of 48 students. So to do that, we would be charging $1,692 per student per year to accommodate those bus routes. Those are the base numbers for then what I put in these cost scenarios. Starting with the most expensive, which again addresses that 1.6 thousand number, if we're looking at a cost of $1,500 plus per year, we had 24 students that would definitely or probably register at that cost. Across our 3 middle schools then, we would be running 3 single-leg routes to 3 middle schools. We know that our cost per route is $81.2 thousand, so to run those 3 routes would be $243.6 thousand. If we collected $1,692 a year from each rider, that's 24 riders across all 3 routes, where to meet cost, we would need 48 riders per route. So looking at 24 riders across all 3 routes at $1,692 a year, our revenue would be $40.6 thousand, which would leave a net cost to the district of $203 thousand to run those 3 routes, which averages out to approximately $8,500 per student. And the cost to district does not include the fuel surcharge or personnel costs for managing the program. So this is at the highest fee range. I've done this for each of the fee ranges. I'll move through those, and then I'll take questions, and if you want me to come back to one of these slides, I can do that. So at $1,000 to $1,499, because we don't have an actual number for this, for the other 3 fee ranges, I just took the middle number. So let's say that we charged $1,250 a year. We had 46 riders who would definitely or probably register at this fee range. We would be running then 3 single-leg routes to 3 middle schools. The cost is still $243.6 thousand. With 46 riders at $1,250 a year, the revenue would be $57.5 thousand. The net cost to the district is $186.1 thousand, or approximately $4,000 per student. Then looking at that $500 to $999 range, the number of riders goes up. We have 125 riders that would definitely or probably register at that price range. With 125 riders, we're still under that 48 rider capacity per bus, so we would be running 3 single-leg routes to 3 middle schools, still looking at that cost of $243.6 thousand. The rider revenue for 125 riders, I took the middle number, so 125 riders at $750 a year would bring in rider revenue of $93.7 thousand. The net cost to the district would be $149.9 thousand, or approximately $1.2 thousand per student. And then our last scenario here is that under $500 a year range. That is the one that had the most interest. So definitely or probably would register, gave us a head count of 316 riders. With 316 riders, we are over capacity on the buses, so we're over 48 students per bus, which means we would have to run 7 single-leg routes to the 3 middle schools. So each, assuming the numbers are about balanced, each school would have 2 routes, and then there would be a little bit of overflow from one of the schools running a 3rd route for that school. So with 7 routes, then, our total cost for running those routes would be $568.4 thousand. Our revenue for 316 riders at $250 a year would be $79,000, which brings the net cost to the district to $489.4 thousand, or approximately $1.5 thousand per student. So that's the end of my cost scenarios. I have one slide left talking about recommended next steps, but I'll pause here and take any questions that you have about the cost scenarios.
Can you explain to me, so if it doesn't include fuel surcharge and personnel costs, then what is the $81,000 paying for?
That's our contracted price per route from first student. So the fuel surcharge, Brett can give me the exact number, but that includes gas per gallon up to a certain cost per gallon, and then beyond that cost per gallon. So right now, gas is high, so we are paying the difference between our contracted cost per gallon and what the current cost per gallon is for the buses. That's the fuel surcharge piece. Personnel cost, and I should have specified this, personnel costs meaning internal. So the staff that we would have to have in place to manage the pay-to-ride program, it wouldn't include the costs for
So
those
is that like
folks.
for book work and tracking, those kind of things, or are you planning on putting riders on those buses? No, it'd just be the
It'd be,
management of the
yep,
system.
registration, collecting payments, managing the routes, helping to develop the routes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Richards, I believe the current fuel cost per gallon is pegged at $2.50. So $2.50 is what's built into the contract. So hypothetically, if diesel, and I think they're all diesel's probably trading at what, $4.50 a gallon-ish? So you're on the hook for that gap. So $2 per gallon, and the totality of the mileage would be the surcharge. And the personnel costs, as Dr. V had mentioned, we have a part-time employee. She works part-time in the communications office, part-time in the business office, so it's only a part of her job, deals with working with first student, dealing with parental questions, coordinating routes. So because there's more routes, more kids, more services, more questions, more complaints, we would have to add to that time or add another person. So those are what those two factors. Mr. Richards, Dr. Villarreal, okay, thank you. Great question, Ms.
And
Wood.
then this is based on working, or what it would cost with the current bus company that we have in place?
Yes.
And they have the capacity to be able to do it?
When we asked them if they had the capacity to do it, they said yes. I'll go on to recommendations here. So I think one of the things that came through in the survey as I was interpreting the results is that with 360 students across 3 middle schools interested in busing, I think that shows a level of need for a pay-to-ride program. We have to find a way to make the costs more accessible. I think that the best path forward is going to be in that $500 to $999 range to make it more accessible to families and also less of a financial strain for the district. But to do that creates some challenges. So my first recommendation is for us to explore moving to 2-leg routes. Right now, most of our routes that we run are 2-leg routes. They service a secondary school first and then an elementary school second. So that increases our rider capacity per route from 48 students to 96 students. So in effect, you would be, if we were at capacity on both of the legs for a route, we would be cutting the cost per student in half, which would then increase viability for those routes and reduce the cost for both families and the per student cost for the district. It would potentially result in earlier pickup and later drop-off times. So right now, like I mentioned, our 2-leg routes do a secondary school first and an elementary school second in the mornings, and then they pick up elementary schools first and secondary school second in the afternoons. It is possible, it's not preferred by the bus company, but it is possible to run a 2-leg route with 2 secondary schools. The question then becomes a question of equity and preference. which school gets the more desired pickup and drop-off times, which school gets the less desired pickup and drop-off times, who makes that decision, what does that look like? So with that recommendation, like I have written there, I think we should explore that more and look into that a little bit more. And it could mean running 2-leg routes with 2 secondary routes, or it could mean expanding the pay-to-ride opportunities to elementary schools. It could mean a lot of different things, but in looking at reducing both the cost for families and the expenditure for the district, being able to change the bus capacity from 48 per route from 48 students to 96 students is going to have a financial benefit. So that's my first recommendation. My second recommendation is to call for a pay-to-ride program in the next transportation contract. I know that we've talked about this before. The RFP for our next transportation contract will go out in the 27-28 school year for implementation in the 28-29 school year. If we negotiate a pay-to-ride program as part of the contract itself, then we're no longer constrained by just a straight-up per route cost, which is what's currently in our contract because that's all that we asked for. So with a pay-to-ride program, for example, in a neighboring school district here, their pay-to-ride program is managed entirely by their transportation company. The capacity for the buses is set by the transportation company. The costs are set by the transportation company. So if there's a financial hit because they don't have enough riders, then the transportation company absorbs that financial hit instead of the district. Or they set a capacity number that gives them the right to not have a route for pay-to-ride patrons if it doesn't reach a certain minimum threshold. So that is another recommendation that I have, is to work on negotiating that into our next transportation contract.
Can we negotiate it now, just that piece, and not wait until the next contract to do the whole kit and caboodle?
So I know that Mr. Richards talked to First Student a little bit about that. I'll let him answer that one.
Well, when we had a Zoom conference with them, they indicated that route number would be good for something like this as well. You can't really renegotiate a route contract number that's already in contract. So, I mean, there is a possibility that we could go back out for, a bid for services due to the fact that that's not in the contract, the paper ride program, so we could open it back up for a request for a proposal for a paper ride program to get other companies involved in that.
It just seems like a really long time to have to wait. I guess to wait until the 28-29 school year for implementation, when we see, as your data demonstrates, a need now to put it off for a couple more years. I could see a few, a month or semester or whatever, but years seems like a long time.
One observation and then one recommendation. I'd rather have the voices come from the board and not from me, but the observation is, I think Ms. Wood is correct. The survey data indicates that there's definitely an interest. I think the one thing we just need to be very mindful of is when we ask anybody questions on a survey and how they respond when it's low stakes, meaning we're not asking anybody to write a check versus it's now time to write a check, the numbers are almost certainly going to look different. And they're almost certainly going to trend downward, because I can say that, yeah, I'm willing to write a check for $500 in August to make my life a little easier with transportation. But we also know a lot of families are struggling and are on the edge financially, and stroking a check for $500 for a lot of families is probably beyond the scope of what a lot of families can provide. I think it's also worth reminding that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And what I would remind the board is we have offered, as a district, we have offered a pay-to-ride program in the past. It certainly predates me, predates everybody on this board, so I don't want to comment too much on a program that I wasn't directly involved in. But in talking to administrators that oversaw the program back in the 90s, and I said, well, why did it go away? And the answer was lack of interest. Parents, for good or bad, have found a way to get their kids to school. And while this type of a ride option would probably make some families' lives a whole lot easier. It is a new outlay. It's a new check that parents aren't currently writing. So I think the interest would drop perhaps precipitously when it comes time to actually pay the check. That's the observation. My recommendation is whatever this board decides, and we will execute whatever the board asks us to. My strong recommendation would be not to rush this. Nothing will perturb a family more quickly than us dropping the ball on transportation, particularly when weather starts turning rough. We need time to pull this off. We haven't done a pay-to-ride model for many, many, many years. As I said, it's probably been since the 90s. I would say if the board charges us with doing something, the very earliest I would recommend doing it, the very earliest would be second semester. That would give us time to get the infrastructure in place, to make sure that our confidence level is high with first student. We've communicated adequately with students. We've communicated adequately with parents. I think there was some hope from some of our parents, and I understand why. I don't fault them, certainly, but that we could have something up and running in August. There's just no way. There's no way we could do it, something this complex involving hundreds of kids, a whole bunch of routes, and pull it off with a quality that any of us could feel confident in. So that would be my recommendation, but again, we will execute whatever the board asks us to execute.
I appreciate you, putting the survey together, sending it out, staying on top of the parents so that they actually responded to the survey. I appreciate all those out there that did respond. Thank you for sharing your opinions. I mean, perfect world, I think we would have seen enough people interested to cover the cost of the program, even if we were willing to do the fuel surcharge and we were willing to invest more into personnel to manage and run the system, because there will need to be that. We don't currently manage people paying for busing. We would have to build that system up. It was clear that there's not enough of a desire from parents to fund this as is with the 48 one-leg route. Like you said, there's a lot of people responded. A lot of people have transportation issues at the middle school level. I appreciate the recommendation to thinking through other options to how can we get the cost down, one for the family's cost and the district cost. Because as you were showing there, the general cost, I feel like for those that were interested, I think it was too much, in my opinion, for the district to cover, as is with the one-leg options for the number of people that were interested. So you're talking about going from the 48 to the 96, the one leg to the potential two legs. But doing that, it does, as you said, makes the pickup time earlier, the drop-up time later, which could also then reduce interest if people are like, well, if my kid has to get picked up at 6:45, do I want them picked up at 6:45 and I can just take them there? So how are we going to explore the potential interest in a potential two-leg option? Do we have an idea yet?
My idea was that you guys would tell me what to do.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah. So I think with that, obviously, we're not going to have any voted on action tonight, right? Discussion. Yep. I think as we were talking about the all the board retreat. That's the word I'm looking for. I mean, we've talked about this at the board retreat previously. We have not had nearly this much data to talk through, and I think this is a perfect agenda item to discuss, to hopefully give then further recommendations to look at the go forward. The working with the transportation company for the pay to ride, understanding it's in the RFP process, and hopefully next year. I think it would be difficult to manage two transportation systems at a time if we did, because we have the one contract that is good for the next 2 years, right? 2 school years, to have one starting and then you would never have them starting at the same time. So while I wish maybe we had one, we could open up that RFP process a year ahead of where we are now. I think it would be better to wait than to potentially go down the path of having two transportation companies at the same time. We did talk about last time, I think, do we do a pilot program? Do we try to manage ourselves? As I thought through that option more, one, we would then have to build it, which would be take people and time. And if we didn't get in an RFP a pay-to-ride program that would be managed by the busing company, what would that mean? Would we have to continue manage it even though we did it in a pilot, or would it go away? What I am also cognizant of, I don't want to put something out there that then we take away from the parents, because once you have it, that is then what they are used to, that's what they expect, and it's very difficult to take away. So as you said, before we do anything, I just want to make sure that we have fully thought it through and that it is the best for the parents and the district to be able to manage long-term, because I don't want to be making changes on these families and putting something out there and then pulling the rug out from under them. So I think, as you said, slow it down and be smart about it to make sure that we don't have that. But again, I appreciate all the data, the recommendations, but to me, it's just more conversations need to be had.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say that I agree we need to have more conversations, but I agree that waiting until the 28-29 school year is not the answer. I'm just going to echo everything she said, but, it shows need that's out there, so I think we need to come up with something. Rushing it, we don't want to throw something out there that is not going to work, and then, like you said, have to pull that back because it doesn't work. You brought up the point I was going to make, too, and I think we'd already talked about this in some of the subcommittees, is that, you move to those two-leg routes, and all of a sudden, that earlier time, one, parents may not be excited about it, and I guarantee you the middle school students aren't going to be excited about it. So getting up earlier, dropping off a little later probably wouldn't make that much difference, but definitely getting picked up earlier. Your point about how do you decide who does that, there's obviously a bunch of ways to try to figure that out, as who gets picked up earlier. And definitely I like the idea of talking about this at our retreat. But I would encourage us to find a way to do something to start this program at the beginning of not this coming school year, but the following school year, and not wait 2 full years for a full RFP to do that. If we want to do that and try to see if there's a better way to do it, that would be great. But I really think we need to start working on this a lot sooner than waiting for 2 years.
I think one of the things with that, if it's something that we're going to pursue and we're going to move forward with, I know that a piece of guidance that I would need from the board is what is the cost per student that the board is comfortable allocating to this endeavor? Because without that number, I can put together a bunch of cost models, but if we don't have, and I know it's not coming directly from the board, and in collaborative conversation, we would need to figure out what is the amount that we're willing to allocate per student to this program, because then we can figure out, well, how many riders do we need? How many routes do we need? How can we get this? We have the information from families, right? They would love it if it was less than 500. They would be okay if it was less than 1,000. So now we need that same data point from the district side and from the board to give us some guidance then on how to put those two pieces together.
Well, and speaking of funds, my question is, all the scenarios would cost the school district money, so where is that money coming from in the budget? Where are we pulling from?
Ultimately, when you add programs, personnel, or anything else, the only lever we have to pull is taxpayer money. So as you all know, we're limited to a 3% cap. The board can override that to do some programming like this, but that's ultimately where it comes from, yes.
I had a question about the RFP option. With that, we wouldn't have any personnel costs, I'm assuming. Would we still have a fuel charge?
It depends on the contract that we would enter into.
Okay.
Right now, the fuel surcharge is written into our contract.
Yeah, and we watch the gas prices as you do the next RFP. That was around the prices at the time that we do the RFP. So, if the gas prices are $4.50 when we go out for the RFP, then you put that as a base price for the bid.
No, thank you, board members, for a very well-rounded discussion. Thank you, Dr. V, for the data and information. I agree. I think we can all see that from this subset of our district population that there is a want and a need for middle school transportation. As we've reflected on the data, we also know that it doesn't end with this group. As soon as we say, oh, let's turn on 3 separate one-leg routes to 3 separate middle schools, then it's going to be, well, I also have a freshman that is not allowed to drive to school yet. I also have elementary schools students that live outside that 2 to 4 mile radius. And then obviously, as the accountant that I am, going to 2-leg routes, significantly decreases the cost for both students, parents, and the district. And I think if we are going to take on something of this new nature, that I agree with many of the board members that said, we definitely need to have further conversation and an extremely deep dive in order to provide the district with some guidance on what direction to go to. So I agree. I think this definitely should be a topic on the retreat here at a date to be named later, likely in September. Because like all of us, if we're going to do something, this district has extremely high expectations from ourselves, from our students, from our staff, our families, and our overall residents. So if we're going to do something, we're going to do it properly planned and ready to execute at the expectations of our constituents. So again, I agree. I know I've said it in subcommittee. I think, as Dr. Rickley said, to do this right, to put the staff in place to fully develop routes, have all the information, and have it absolutely ready to execute. A 2-month time, I know a lot of folks were hopeful. This isn't a small task. This is not a small ask for the size of our district. And obviously, based on the data, the number of people that would likely be interested. So again, I would agree with the folks that at the earliest, I think to pull this off would be second semester of this next school year. I agree that we shouldn't wait 2 years. When we know there's demand, it's our job to find a direction and see how quickly we can execute it, but do it in a properly planned manner. So again, it's time for us to get more data and have more discussions to find a path, a clearer path forward in order to meet the demands of our community. So again, Dr. V, it's time for the board and through subcommittees to explore what direction overall we would like to move forward as a board, again, and give you that direction on price points and what the direction is. It also, by having further conversations throughout this summer and into the board retreat, it also allows us a time, because that leads us into budget. So that allows us to actually see where our budget falls and where we may or may not have available funds to pick a price point. So again, that's another data point, because the other part of the constituents in this district that may not have children currently in our schools that are taxpayers, again, we have to be mindful of the costs on them as we go down this path. So, and especially as we're limited, as Mr. Richards said, that the 3% hard cap really squeezes us as a board on where our funds can go without overriding that, and again, then increasing the tax on our residents, as we've been very mindful to either hold steady or decrease every year as we possibly can. So lots of things for us to discuss and lots of things to determine. And again, I appreciate the presentation, the data. Again, thanks to the families, 75% response rate on any survey is very significant. So those voices, we appreciate those voices, and they were definitely heard. Allow us to continue this discussion going forward. And again, thank you, board members and the administration, for presenting us things to continue to think about. Any other further discussion or comments regarding the middle school busing presentation? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item C, under discussion and information items, the purchase of school generators. Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Lotus. I'm going to try to keep this at a high level, and then Matt is coming to the podium for any technical questions, because this is a little above my head as far as what we're trying to do here. The generators throughout the district are, have been done over time as backup generators. Many of them don't power the data areas, the doors out front on a safety and security situation, phones, things go down, power goes down, those things go down in some of these buildings. Some of our buildings have that capability right now to have the phones and the data and the internet stay with the backup. The doors are always just going to lock, and you can't get in with a card or anything in any of our buildings pretty much at this point. So basically, we have 6 elementary schools: Anderson Grove, Golden Hills, G. Stanley Hall, La Vista West, Terra Heights, and Hickory Hill that have some issues with the generator and the automatic switch. So I kind of explained that in the summary. But basically, in a general overview, this will align generator power to a second switch that would allow a standardization and throughout all our schools, once we get all this going with our safety and security projects with the phones, internet, those types of things in the schools that aren't under construction right now, to help us keep power for those critical systems in place. Other schools within the bond project are starting to receive this as part of the projects. Okay, it's been designed through our partners with BCDM and Alvine, and coming up with a way to do this. Others, we had a good question, and I probably didn't answer it really well in the subcommittee last week as we investigated a little bit, talked back and forth with our partners with engineers as well. But will this put us in a place where we're fixed? Yes and no. Okay, the yes is if power goes out once these 6 schools happen and Papillion Middle gets finished too as part of their project, we'll have power for data phones. Okay, we still don't have, and with the Genetec system, we'll have for the front doors too. Okay, so that Genetec platform is that safety and security platform that we included in the bond, right, for all of our schools. Well, not all of our schools have that Genetec platform, okay? So we will have, hopefully this project, if approved, will go into the fall, probably up until Christmas to finish it all. Okay, so at that time, when power goes out, all of our schools will have that critical factor of data and phones. Okay, and then the doors will just shut and lock during power outages. We'll have to let manually people in. So we'll evaluate each school through our design process with the safety and security package that we're doing with phones and the intercoms and those types of things. Once we get to that this fall, we'll do the designs for the other schools in the district and include it in the package for those that would need it with the Genetec package for the automated switch. Matt, now correct and Terry.
Yeah, they should be pretty good to go, because some of these are on here, like G. Stanley Hall, La Vista West, those are ones that we're gonna have to go back to. I know we did some bond work earlier in, 2018, I think, on those projects, so.
Yeah, that was the 2018.
Yep, so these will get those up to date, so that way when we go to do the safety and security upgrades, that won't be an issue. We'll have power at that secondary transfer switch, and then we'll have doors, intercoms, phones, that stuff will stay up when we lose power. Yeah, you would still be able to use keys that have, or locks that have keys in them.
So, Mr. Richards, Mr. Moore, so if the board approves these remaining 6 schools, will there be other schools down the line, or does this get us to now where all of our schools are adequately covered by backup generators?
We should be adequately covered, yes.
For backup, but we'll still have to maybe put in that second switch eventually for the Genetec platform, or?
Well, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
currently the Liberty and the 2 high schools were the 3 that I was really concerned with. And after talking with Alvine this last week, they thought we were covered. So they thought we'd be good with the existing transfer switches that are at those buildings.
And just to be clear, these do not operate like residential natural gas fire generators, where you think of a catastrophic storm, for example, and I may have a Generac at home that kicks on, it runs my AC, it runs my TV, I just go on living my life. These generators do not operate that way. They're meant to operate critical systems, such as security, door functioning, things of that nature. Am I getting it correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the backup power.
They're not even natural gas, they're battery backup.
Battery backup, yeah.
Okay,
So if
perfect.
it was an extended time, it still might not be able to.
Perfect. Thank you.
So that's the gist of it. Downs Electric, and we've had that month-long break between meetings, so we've moved forward with this project knowing it was part of our bond projects, but we wanted to bring it for discussion tonight and not ask the board to, in the first, public meeting to approve it. And we've got time to do that, so. Same with the next agenda item as well.
Any comments, questions?
And just to clarify, they're not battery backup, the generators aren't, they're still gas, but they would help continue to keep our battery backups sufficient, so if we needed to, if they were to go on. Yeah, right now we have just batteries, so when we lose power, we have about 15 minutes, if we're lucky, of phones and security, so.
Very good. Anything further? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Brett.
All right, moving on to our final item under Section 4 Discussion and Information Items, the Trumbull Park roof. Mr. Richards.
Yes, so we talked about this in subcommittee as well. The Trumbull Park roof is leaking quite a bit. We're having some issues with it. It's not going to make it another year without costly repairs this summer. So with the team, between BCDM and Buildings and Grounds and the district, we kind of said we can get this one out for bid as it's a loan. So usually what we do, just so you're aware, during these bonds, is these roofs, we kind of separate them out from the contractor because it saves us money to do it and go out for bid separately. So we are planning on doing like 4 roofs next summer, getting through some of these renovations first and then letting BCDM design those roofs and get them out for bid. But Trumbull's, with its issues, they're just going to be too costly to do that. So we're going to recommend to you guys that we go ahead and accept this bid from Dre Roofing at the next meeting of $186,000. We did have 6 companies respond to it, and they can get to it soon. So that's one we'd like to recommend that we go forward with early.
And has Dre Roofing done any other projects?
Yeah, great question, and that was my first question. I've never worked with him personally. Pat has, Carson from BCDM. He said it's been a couple of years, but he's done some projects with them. They have a good reputation. They've handled this type of roof. He's not worried about it in the least.
What's the time frame on it, if approved?
We think we can hit this before the school year starts.
All right.
We just keep making magic happen with these building projects. So we will, that's the thing. We will get this done before the school year starts. That's the charge.
Very good. Anything further on that agenda item? All right, seeing none. And we have, on Section 5, we do not have any public comments for items not on tonight's agenda. Obviously, it's the summer, so a very short future board calendar, June 22nd, 2026, our next Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. here at the central office. Seeing no further business before this board, I will adjourn the June 8th, 2026 Papillion La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting at 7:20 p.m. Thank you all.